It's September, the year 2000, and the world is in the grip of wizard fever. With J.K. Rowling's spellbinding series of novels set to make the leap from page to screen, life is about to change for one young boy. Looking back at his time at Hogwarts, Daniel Radcliffe gives Sky Movies a rare insight into his life as Harry Potter.
Whatever opportunities I get for the rest of my life, 99% of them, you can trace it back to the fact that I got this amazing job when I was 10. School wasn't really a place I particularly enjoyed being. Basically all my school reports said more or less the same thing from my teachers, which was, we really like Dan, but he's useless. I was really upset one day, and my mum said to me, yeah, but Dan, you've got social skills. And I said, yeah, but they don't count. You know, and I really didn't feel like they did. I certainly had no aspirations towards acting. There's all this stuff I sometimes get told about myself from, you know, sometimes journalists say, you know, apparently you wanted to act from the age of 5. And, well, yeah, when I was 5 I wanted to act, and when I was 6 I wanted to be in the army, and when I was 7 I wanted to be an astronaut, and when I was, it wasn't like I think I saw a pantomime production of Aladdin when I was 5, and I turned to my mum and said, I want to be an actor. And my mum just looked at me and said, no, you don't. I remember when I was 9 and going through a particularly awful trot at school and just couldn't, you know, I was doing really badly at the work. I at that point wasn't particularly popular with a couple of my teachers, and because I was disruptive, not in a malicious way, just in, as I said, just because I was so hyper and kind of excitable and couldn't concentrate on anything. And I remember the woman, Sue Latimer, who then became my agent, she said, well, they're doing auditions for David Copperfield at the moment. You know, why don't you send him up for that? Just because that's an experience. The experience of auditioning is not something that anyone else in the class will have had. So she said, why don't you, send him up for that, and that way he'll have something a bit different to talk about at school, something he'll have done that no one else has. No one thought I'd get it. I'd done one school play when I was, again, about 5 or 6, where it was a production of Nellie the Elephant, and I was a monkey in the background. So yeah, and so they sent me up, no one thought I'd get it, and I was one of the first kids they saw, and I ended up getting the part.
3, take 1.
Excellent. So Dan, we're trying some glass on you. Can you hold your head up a little bit? Yeah, but turn over this way to the little. I'll turn back here.
Apparently, when Maggie Smith was asked to do Potter, she, having been in David Copperfield with me, told them about me and sort of recommended me, and so I kind of owe her big, really.
We made it. Can you imagine the look on McGonagall's face if we were late? That was bloody brilliant.
Oh, thank you for that assessment, Mr. Weasley. Perhaps it would be more useful if I were to transfigure Mr. Potter and yourself into a pocket watch. That way one of you might be on time.
We got lost.
Then perhaps a map. I trust you don't need one to find your seats.
We began pre-production on Harry Potter in October 1999. And we began to look for Harry, Ron and Hermione. And we looked and we looked and we looked.
People picked the most romantic part of that story, which is that I was suddenly spotted in a theatre, and then that was it. But it wasn't like that at all. I keep trying to tell the full story to people, and then they just keep, we'll just use the good bit.
It was a bit scary, given that we were about to start filming Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in September, and we didn't have the lead character. Apparently, when the casting director said, who do you want to play Harry, or what kind of boy do you want to play Harry? Chris Columbus picked up a copy of the David Copperfield and said, I want a boy like this, and I want to audition this boy, I've heard, which is very, very flattering. And so they, originally the deal was to do, I think, all 6 or 7, it was, I think, to do 6 movies, all to be filmed in Los Angeles. And when my parents heard the terms of what it would be signing on for, they just said, no way, that's far too big a disruption to his life. That would just, not a chance.
and it went away.
In a stroke of magic worthy of Harry himself, the opportunity for Daniel to play Potter didn't go away for long.
After the deal had then changed to signing on for 2 films to be filmed in England, and there were lots of strange coincidences that were happening at the time that my parents were going, okay, maybe this is something we should let him, or at least audition for. The final, obviously, of all those coincidences was sitting in the theatre and having David Heyman and Steve Clovis, the screenwriter, sitting in the row in front at a production of Stones in His Pockets. And that was and I remember David kept round looking at me during the production, and I was just going, this bloke keeps staring at me. You know, I had no idea who he was. And then I remember my parents sort of in the interval rushing me upstairs and taking me outside and we were hiding behind a pillar. I had no idea why. And just my mum and dad sort of debating, going, you know, should we leave? Should we go? You know, this is you know, he's going to ask questions, or he's going to, you know, I had no idea what was going on. And then we went back into the second half. I met David, I think, just before the second half started for the first time. And then the next day, David called in and said, look, please, will you let him audition for us? At which point my dad said, okay, he can audition. Still really not thinking that I'd get it. And I think, you know, by this point, they were only about 2 months away from the start of filming, so I've always said it was a mixture of desperation and, amongst other things, you know, that I ended up getting the part.
Okay, and action.
I never thought to look in here. I checked this out first turn for a bit of light reading.
This is light.
Shut up. If Filch comes round that corner any second now, we are dead meat.
Sorry.
We had screen tests. Probably the first time I met Dan and Emma. Yeah, I remember it really well. And I also saw another version with a different Ron, a different potential Ron, which was really weird to see that. I mean, just thinking kind of how easily kind of that kid could have got the part. He was really good. I thought he was better than me.
When I got the part, we had a photo session with Terry O'Neill, which was our first photo shoot, me, Rupert and Emma together, and I was referred to as the boy. Rupert was referred to as the other boy, and Emma was referred to as the girl for the whole thing. And which is fair enough, you know. Why should he know our names? You know, we're some kids. And then we got sent to the aptly named Landmark Hotel, which is where we spent 3 days sort of in hiding, and we did a press conference then in a different hotel, and that press conference was the first time that I was like, oh, okay, this is quite a big deal, really.
How do you feel about coping with all the fame and celebrity that's coming your way? Have you thought about it?
Not really.
Well, first about the part. How did you react to getting the role of Harry, the magical part of Harry Potter?
I cried, actually.
I remember there was a bit of stuff in the press about, well, why have they cast this boy who doesn't really even know anything about the films? Because they'd asked me anything about the books. Because they'd asked me a question in the press conference. I think the question was something like, do you know Lord Voldemort's real name? No idea. I mean, at that point, of course, I had the second book read to me, but I hadn't remembered it. And Emma and Rupert, very, very sweetly, both were trying to write down his real name and slide it towards me. And of course, we all thought we were being really subtle, but of course, you know, there's a room full of about 100 press in front of us, so you can't really get away with that. I mean, I just remember sitting in that room at the Landmark just thinking, I've got to read these books now. I've got to get stuck in. And I did, and by the time we got to our first day of actual filming, I was on the 4th book already, which is much, much faster than I'd ever read anything before. So yeah, I was swatting up very, very quickly.
I just remember just being so excited and there just being so many people, and, you know, the whole of that first movie was just like a blur. It's kind of, I was so excited every single day.
You're 10, you're 11, so you are absolutely just living from one second to the next, and it's all fantastic and it's fun. I do maintain there's no place more fun for a 12-year-old boy than a film set. It's just great because it's, you know, it's mad and and there's lots of stuff to play with and climb on, and, you know, I loved it. It was great.
Right then, first years, this way, please.
I remember that first day, the thing that was strange was that people were asking for my autograph, some of the other kids coming off the train. And yeah, I remember they asked for my autograph, and David Heyman came up to me and said, Dan, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Make your signature shorter. Which I didn't. And I should have. I should have just done DJR or something like that. But it's never changed. The only thing that's happened now is that rather than doing the D sort of just like a D, I now do like a sort of bit of a flourish. That's as exciting as my signature gets. Otherwise, it is just me writing my name in my terrible scrawl handwriting.
Attending his last ever Harry Potter premiere, the man whose story this was. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Radcliffe.
I just thought it was funny. I just always, and I think, you know, that's all I thought. I just thought, this is weird, but not in a negative way, not like, oh wow, this is really gonna, I can't cope with this pressure. I just thought it was silly and funny. It's very hard when you are in the middle of something this big to fully appreciate the way it, because it's always such a part of my life that I don't notice when it takes over the rest of other people's lives. For like a few weeks a year, when it becomes, you know, the posters are everywhere and the films come out and it's a really big deal and there's all those sort of the pre-release hype and stuff going on. So it's always yeah, but certainly at that age I had absolutely no clue that it was going to be so huge. I'm still getting to be out of school. I mean, that really was a huge incentive. I was obviously still having tuition on set, but just not being in school was massive, and having to, you know, do all this other stuff. It seemed like I never really even thought about it. I certainly don't remember thinking about it. If I did think about it, it would have just been, this is all a bit odd. But we had a great reaction to it as a family. Anytime we saw a poster with me on it, I'd just stand in front of it and like have a photo taken with it, like real sort of touristy kind of thing to do, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it was. We didn't ever find it weird. We just found it, and I think I've always found it hilarious that I'm suddenly on posters and that I'm suddenly, you know, just the other day somebody sent me a picture of their son standing with a life-size Lego version of myself that had been not like a Lego head, but that had been built out of many pieces of Lego, and that stuff still is just really funny. I mean, bizarre, but yeah. I mean, I've never found that odd or creepy. I've just always found it funny. I mean, that's all. If you start letting that stuff get to you, you're in the wrong job, because there's a lot of it. The thing about the Harry Potter fans, which I think is quite cool, is that it's not like the other big franchises like Star Wars or Star Trek. Potter is different because its fan base starts from a literary place, and I think that makes a big difference. So rather than just being, you know, a group of very obsessive nerds, it's a group of obsessive, yes, but incredibly well-read people, because they haven't now just read Potter. A lot of people their reading has expanded, and it's done that for other people. So I think the Harry Potter fan base on the whole is a really, really intelligent group of people. Obviously, you get some nutters, but you get them in any walk of life.
You're not going mad. I can see them too. You're just as sane as I am.
I'm never going to think of myself as a star, I can promise you.
Daniel, do you think your life is ever going to be the same again?
I think if my life was going to change, it would have changed by now. It really hasn't.
It is a bit weird when people do kind of feel they can stake a claim to know you, you know, more than your friends do. It's bizarre sometimes when you meet people and they really do feel like they know you, and I don't feel weird about that. I just feel like, God, what a disappointment it must be when you actually meet me.
Not now, Nigel. Later. Go on. I told him I'd get him Harry's autograph.
In terms of people thinking that I am Harry, that certainly applies to younger kids. I met a boy the other day who was 5, and he knew he was going to meet me, and then he walked into the room and saw me and freaked out a little bit. And you know, it is, because suddenly, you know, this wizard standing in front of you if you're a kid. It's bizarre for them. I mean, it must be so strange. I think people have an image of film stars that we're all kind of very cool and, you know, and I'm not. I'm a geek, and I'm not this. I don't, I'm just obsessed with cricket. I'm happy in my own company. I'm not particularly what people want when they meet a movie star, I don't think, which I'm quite happy about. I don't necessarily want to be that, but yeah, I always just think, you know, because I've had experiences where I've met some heroes of mine, and it's been really like disappointing for whatever reason. And I always worry that when people meet me, they might go through a similar experience.
There's something very slightly geeky about Dan. He's really enthusiastic. He's got huge enthusiasm. His favourite TV programme is QI, because he loves information. And Dan has reams of information. If you sit down with him, he's not only charming and funny, but he has this extraordinary encyclopedic knowledge of stuff. I don't know where he keeps it all. And there's something that chimes with Harry about that. Slightly geeky, slightly awkward, not the natural hero.
Having made the role his own and winning the love of Potter fans the world over, it was clear to see that Dan's enthusiasm for the job was tireless.
A lot of people say to me, "Oh, aren't you jealous?" Because I originally went out for the part of Harry, and a lot of people say, "Don't you feel jealous that you didn't get?" And definitely not, because not only do I think that he's 10 times the actor when it comes to playing someone like Harry, but he can handle it so much more than I've ever seen anyone else. He's such a eager, you know, very enthusiastic guy, 24/7 about the work, and I think that really shows through in his character as well, his sort of strengths as being Harry.
The things that I grew to love about being on the film set were the fact that it was 1,000 people in the studios all working towards one goal. I mean, that's amazing, and to allow that to work, and to work in the happiest way, you need to be able to be part of a team of people. And, you know, any actor that thinks that he is irreplaceable is wrong. You know, any actor that thinks that you are somehow more important than any member of the crew, it's wrong. You know, you're not. And if you start acting up, particularly at a young age, get someone else. Easily done. You know, I mean, it's any actor that thinks he's inexpendable is a fool. But, you know, I think my parents said to me at some point, you know, look, if you do get, you know, ideas above your station and you do start acting out on set, you know, there's no reason, particularly at a young age, why they couldn't find another boy. Which was, you know, not my parents being harsh or anything, it's just the truth, and it's what I think anybody going into that profession needs to hear, because I think people do get delusions of grandeur really, really quickly sometimes.
Despite growing up on a movie set and playing the title character in the world's biggest film series, Radcliffe's feet remained firmly on the ground throughout his Potter experience.
Count action, come up immediately. Dan, you look from here to here. Okay, got it?
I never really felt that sense of pressure of, oh God, what if, you know, this is all on me. You know, never felt that, because, you know, Chris Columbus was so brilliant on those first 2 films at just making every day fun. And that's what, you know, I don't think anyone could have made those first two films like Chris did.
What's wonderful about watching this film is there are a lot of moments where we don't cut away from anything. We're actually staying with the actors, which was something we just couldn't do in the past. It's just a wonderful feeling.
I'll say 1, 2, 3, and action. The food appears. Set. 1, 2, 3, action!
To get 3 kids through 2 11-month shoots every day, getting them focused and concentrated and managing to make these huge movies, while on the other hand having to, you know, find a way of filming Quidditch, find a way of doing all this stuff that was totally unprecedented at the time. You know, I don't think anybody but Chris, with his, you know, indefatigable enthusiasm and zeal for filmmaking and being on film sets, which is something he definitely passed on to me. I don't think anyone could have done that job.
Okay, cut.
It's a sense of real pride to see that these kids have become such accomplished professional actors. You know, it's something that I don't think, you know, in terms of being a director, I don't know how you could be more proud of seeing. It's like seeing your own children up on screen.
Good job, though.
With 4 Potter movies successfully under his belt and looking to flex his acting muscles in the theatre, Daniel made the brave decision to take on the lead role on stage in Equus.
Equus was the first time people started to know my real name. Equus was the time that on the street suddenly people would be calling me Daniel. That was the time that I was suddenly, yeah, as you say, becoming aware of the sort of the process of acting. We do create something, and I learned that on Equus, because on Potter I'd always been basically just doing it as I would say the lines myself, rather than creating a character. Because I started so young, there was no process of, oh, I'm gonna turn Harry into this type of character, I'm gonna play him with this in mind. None of that. So then to go on to Equus and have a totally different character to play with a totally different mental attitude to the world, totally different. It was that was the first time that I ever felt that I was being creative in the true sense of, you know, just doing it rather than just playing as Dan would probably have said the lines when I was 10, 11, 12. Suddenly I was not doing that. There were lines that, you know, I myself would never even say, so I had to work out, you know, I had to create a character more than I had before, and that was really exciting. But it was actually a bit earlier than that I decided I wanted to be an actor. It was on the 3rd film that I thought, okay, yeah, this is now what I think I'll try and do this because I like this. And it was working with Gary Oldman was a huge part of that, because I saw how amazing he was and how fearless, and I you know, I want to have that. I want to be like that.
If you want to kill Harry, you'll have to kill us too.
No, only one would die tonight. Then it'll be you! Are you going to kill me, Harry?
Dan, I think, has now really... he's doing a fantastic job, and I think he's matured and really growing in becoming a good actor. I mean, not that he wasn't before, but he was very young, and so he's really developed into, I think, a very good actor. He's very disciplined and very focused and does his homework.
Expecto Patronum!
Not his school homework. He probably does that too, but he certainly does the homework on what's required of him.
Expelliarmus!
David Thewlis was another person that I always loved watching on set. Imelda Staunton, and you know, she's incredible. And the thing all those people have in common is that not only are they brilliant actors, but they're brilliant at being on a film set. They're fantastic for the set to have them on, because there is no ego. It is about it's about the work, and they're immensely focused. And so it was watching that and watching. I mean, the main thing I learned particularly from Gary, was just that fearlessness and that boldness when it came to acting, and just diving in and being unafraid of, and unself-conscious, and all that other stuff that sort of can get in the way when you're in front of the camera. It's none of, watching him, it was like he didn't have any of that. How does he do that? So I was just, I'd watch him and I thought he was amazing.
We believe Voldemort may be after something.
Sirius.
Something he didn't have last time.
You mean, like a weapon?
No, that's enough. He's just a boy. You say much more and you might as well induct him into the order straight away.
Good, I want to join. If Voldemort's raising an army, then I want to fight.
Generally, it's been amazing and fantastic, and I wouldn't swap it for anything. But yeah, I mean, and aside from going through all the stuff that all teenagers go through, with girls and self-doubt and all that stuff, which doesn't really leave when you stop being a teenager, but it's there. But on top of that, there's, there have been moments with the press and things where it's, where it has been quite tough, and it's, and you do feel, and there's also an overwhelming sense of people waiting and wanting for us to slip up. That is quite upsetting, I suppose, that there are people in the world who are willing you to fall on your face, because it'll just, and because frankly they don't care whether you live or die. They just want to sell papers. And also, I mean, the worst thing I did, I mean, I've been, it's been well documented that I never read anything about myself in the papers or on the internet and stuff. But when I was 14, I did, and I went on the internet and Googled myself, and obviously there are a lot of people saying nice things, but you don't see them. You only see the people who are just vile about you, and that is just really, really strange, because it's the thing of, the assumption that they know me and that they have a right to talk about me that way, and it's just so unbelievably arrogant of some people. So yeah, that I did find quite upsetting, and that did affect me for a while, particularly as a teenager.
Ruddy Pumpkinhead, isn't he?
I don't think it was the books that had him going to the library.
May I have your
Arm, leg, I'm yours.
When I was a teenager, I was just thinking, well, why can't I just go out like all my friends are? And why can't I just go to clubs? I mean, frankly, I have been to clubs since, and yeah, they're not really my thing anyway, I've discovered, which is quite lucky for me. A lot of my friends would always be like, oh, do you want to come out tonight? We're going to so-and-so, we're going here, we're going there. And I'd always be like, well, no, I'm getting up for work at 5:30 tomorrow, like, I can't. And there was a lack of, I don't know it was just they didn't seem to quite get that. Some people did, but I did feel kind of disconnected from people my own age, but I also felt kind of lucky to be so connected to people older than me. I was really, because, when you're a teenager, you're all going through the same thing. You're all moaning and, acting as if the problems that you're having now are the biggest problems you will ever face in your life. I was on a film set with people who'd all been through that stuff and could all just turn around to me and go, it's fine. In a year's time, you will not even remember this girl. Or you will not even, or that fight you had with your friend is so unimportant in the grand scheme of things, And so I actually felt quite lucky to have a lot of people around me who were sane enough and adjusted enough to tell me that actually that stuff didn't matter, really.
Hey, listen up, you lot. Brought you a surprise.
Not more of that before it's cooking, I hope. Be surprised if we can digest it.
Flying.
Dan confuses me because I don't know how he's managed to remain exactly the same from day one. I really don't. I mean, he's done sellouts, Equus in the West End and Broadway. He's done a musical at Broadway. He's been, you know, the lead character in this film now for over a decade, and he's just Dan. And it's something I really admire, that the man will not give up this work ethic. It's amazing.
I mean, you really can't imagine kind of anyone else kind of playing those parts. They've just completely taken over my original imagination when I read the books, and I was a big book fan.
It sounds really lame, but he's a really good person, and Harry's a really good person, and he's prepared to literally sacrifice his life for everyone. And Dan would be that kind of person.
We've been with each other kind of every day, every month, every year, and I think it's very natural to kind of become quite good friends, and I think that's kind of, I guess, quite important with these characters, definitely.
And he's got this amazing laugh that when you actually make him laugh, he almost, like, there's no air comes out, he just opens his mouth. And it's a satisfactory laugh when you think, my joke worked. He's got one of those. So I like Dan a lot.
I was by no means natural at this. I've learned what I've learned through doing and through application and through hard work. But I don't, so occasionally I do sometimes think, well, because I don't want to fail at this. I really want to do well, and I want to make it easy. Because the thing is, and this is something I was aware of very young, was that if I can make it out the other side of this and forge a career for myself for the next however long, then any other child actor who comes after me will hopefully not have to deal with all those irritating questions. Because if I can do it, and me and Emma Rupert can do it in the biggest, as you said earlier, the most successful franchise ever, then that puts the argument to bed. I really want to prove all the people wrong who assumed when I got the part that we wouldn't ever carry on beyond Potter. I mean, I've already done stuff towards that, as you said, like Equus and My Boy Jack and December Boys, Woman in Black. All those things, they're really, but these are the first steps in what is going to be a very long process.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Potter himself, for the final time attending a premiere here in London, Daniel Radcliffe. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Alex?
I'm really well, thank you for asking. Now, I saw your face as you just came over that step there and saw all this.
It's the moment when you just have to sort of let yourself sit back and go, this is pretty damn cool. This is like, you don't get this often. This will not happen to me again. A premiere in Trafalgar Square, this is a one-off. The whole series, not just the film, not just the end products of the films, but the way they were made, the atmosphere in which they were made is kind of unrepeatable.
When somebody said to me, after Potter, you're not going to take a break? I was like, no. Now I cannot afford to take a break. Now this is the time when the world will be, certainly the film world, will be watching to see what we do next, and we can't afford to be seen to be inactive. That fear of failure is something that will, panic me a lot. This is our last day on Potter, so all slightly melancholy. Anyway, I shall come and I'll see you later, sir.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I always knew it was going to come to an end, but I don't think there's any way you can prepare for it. I mean, other than knowing that a lot of the friends you've made you will have forever, which I will. I don't think there's any way you can actually just psych yourself up for that. That's the last time you'll give me the glasses. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much.
And it was only on the last day. We were doing this scene. It was the last scene It was the last scene. I promised myself it wouldn't end on green screen, but inevitably it did. And it was the last day of principal photography, and it was a shot of us jumping through frame, so sort of low angle camera, and then we sort of saw through one after the other, me, Rupert and Ella.
It's just a final big leap.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
One last leap.
One last leap.
And just before we'd done the take, David Heyman and David Barron came up to me and said, so, how are you feeling? And I said, yeah, good, pretty good. I just want to say I've had a really, really nice time. And there was something so... Because it was the only way I could think of to phrase it, and as soon as I said it, there was something so childlike about it. It was like I was suddenly 10 again, using a phrase a 10-year-old would use. And that was when I suddenly felt that lump come there, and just I didn't quite know what to do, and did the last shot, managed to just about get through that. And then when it was over and they played this video of that they'd made during the film.
3, 4.
And I was watching that, and I was seeing all these people that I'd known. And these are just the people I spent the last 18 months with. You know, that doesn't even account for the amazing people who haven't worked on all the films, who I got to know. And I just started weeping. We all did, me, Rupert and Emma, and I've never seen Rupert Grint cry before. And that was really strange. And so yeah, and I just remember looking up at somebody and said, what am I going to do now? Like, without this has been my life. This has been, and also it's you know, in a way it's probably the way some people get when they leave uni, or maybe when they leave home, or whatever. But that period, even though I ended when I was 21, it accounted for my youth, definitely. I mean, that's what I most associated with it. Those are the most formative years of my life, and now they're over. I'm not coming back, Hermione. I've got to finish whatever Dumbledore started, and I don't know where that'll lead me, but I'll let you and Ron know where I am when I can. I never realised how beautiful this place was.
This has been my life, and so it's going to be very, very odd, I think, for all of us, because I don't know what my day-to-day life consists of without you, all of you, and it's wonderful. And I just want to say that I've loved every minute, and thank you all very, very much, because you made the last 2 years of
All the stuff that happens in your teenage years, that first kiss, that first incredible, you know, teenage love's young dream relationship you have with a girl, you know, that's gone now. And so suddenly, and everybody I knew during that period, some of whom I won't see again, probably, you know, not people necessarily from the films, but people who I met, you know, girlfriends and things like that. I was thinking a lot about that on that day, actually. And it just felt like, you know, all those years had just now been punctuated and were over. And that was really, really sad. And going out into the real world again, you know, suddenly I'll be going on to films where, you know, I don't know everybody, and I don't have that same level of comfort on the set, and and it was quite a frightening thing. It was a really strange, emotional day, and I didn't expect it to be. That's the thing. It was very unexpected. I knew it'd be sad. I knew it'd be weird, but it was just, it was painful. It was very strange, and I did not expect that to be the case.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Your hug's coming. Yeah.
There was a sense that, you know, this is the beginning of something new, a new chapter, or whatever other cliche I can think of to use. But on that day, I wasn't thinking about any of that. On the actual day of it ending, I wasn't considering that. But, you know, before and very soon after, I was thinking, actually, you know, this is good. It was never going to last forever. You know, if it had, it would have driven us all mad. In a way, it's a privilege to have worked on something for so long that has been so happy for everyone. I mean, not just myself and the cast, but, you know, I think generally speaking, for all the chaos and the madness that Potter is, everyone loves working on them because there is a real fun feeling to the set. I feel very lucky to have managed to keep that up for so long and to have managed to be involved with something that's been so happy. But yeah, there is a real sense of, now it's time to move on. I'm looking forward to, working with Emma and Rupert and Tom and Matt and Alfie and all those guys in various ways over the years and seeing what we all go on to do. I'm looking forward to working with, David Yates or Alfonso or Michael Chris again in a totally different, way. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing where we all go.
I don't think the end of the story happens tonight because don't get too excited, it's not what you think, but because each and every person, not only in this square but also watching around the world, who will see this film and who have followed these films over the last 10 years will carry this story with them through the rest of their lives, and it will affect what they do. So I would just like to say a huge thank you to all of you, first of all, for giving me a job, and Joe for letting him give me a job, and it's been the most amazing, inspirational, surreal, bizarre, wonderful 10 years that I will probably ever have in all my life, and every opportunity I get from now on all comes back to the fact that I got very, very lucky when I was 11. So thank you very, very much.
The perfect treat for you all to enjoy this half-term, an entire channel dedicated to the boy wizard and his Hogwarts chums. Sky Movies Harry Potter is available from tomorrow on demand.